Hey, this is Glenn, and this is a different kind of video. I want to talk to you about some things. Now, it's going to be really interesting coming from me. Going to be really interesting because this one is about the emotional courage, and it's a lot of courage, and it's about forgiveness. I know, the guy that cusses people out on YouTube, but it's about forgiveness. Having the courage to forgive. We're going to break this down. Number one, in our society, American society, there's a lot of support for holding grudges, for being angry at someone, and retribution. It's in our culture, it's in our literature, it's in our movies, it's everywhere. And to a degree, sometimes it's warranted, but really, most times it's not. Last week, something really strange happened. A guy, in my opinion, who's a racist bastard, was saying all kind of nasty racist things about me in an internet forum 2 years ago. I went in and lost my ever-loving mind. I should have ignored it. I just went in there and it was like stepping in quicksand. The more that I fought, the worse that it became, because unless you have proof, no one wants to believe that racism, sexism, or anything bad, or even rape, without concrete proof, people don't want to talk about it. It's like, hey, if you can't really prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt, I don't know. Because the truth of the matter is, it's very ugly. It's very ugly, it's heinous, and it makes people very uncomfortable. So they'd rather ignore it and sweep it under the carpet versus dealing with it if there's not substantial proof. And even when there's substantial proof, still don't want to deal with it because it's very ugly. Well, this guy, for some reason, after all of that went down, for some reason thought that I would contribute to his blog. I know, right? It's just like, you're kidding me, right? And this is what I did. When it went down, I was pissed. I went in there, and like I said, the more I fought, the worse it got, because people were like, no, it's not racist. You're being too sensitive, and so on and so forth. And I just like, you know what? Forget it. I actually had to log in, forgot to log in. I just like, you know what? I don't like this place. I'm not going to be here. They can have it. So I removed myself, but before I left, I did a $5,000 challenge. If what I say you could prove isn't true, you get 5 Gs. Not one person stepped up to the plate. Not one. Not one. So moved on. And that's something else. Also with YouTube, if you notice, there's a different format. I don't really get into it with people anymore. If you leave a decent comment or a comment I may or may not agree with, I'll leave it. I may even in dialogue with you. But if it's something just off the wall crazy that screams, I want attention, I delete and block you and move on. And it's a process. And what I want to share with you is, it takes time to get there, because when you're investing energy and time into people who don't give a damn about you, you're actually letting them win. You know, it took me a while to really understand that, because you may get them with a nice snappy comeback, but ultimately they win because of the time, the energy, and the effort that you put into them that yields nothing. Absolutely nothing is gone. You can't get Monday, October the 7th back once Monday, October the 7th, 2012 is gone. You might get another Monday, but you're not going to get that one back. It's gone. It's over with. And that could have been time that you used to build something versus tear something down. And I just went on and went on. And I also removed myself from a lot of forums. I stopped going there, because essentially, unlike you people here in the Hustler Mindset Project, there's a bunch of scared, spineless, wimpy people out there that would rather sit around and talk about something for 2, 3, 4, 5 years versus actually jumping in and trying it. And I realized something. And this actually came from YouTube. There was this one person who posted about 2 years ago. It's like, dude, you need to just put up a paywall and just talk to the people who really want this information. Because I have made thousands of dollars off of the stuff that you put on YouTube. And I said, thank you very much. I ain't really think anything about it. Then someone else said the same thing. Then someone else said the same thing. And the point I'm making is because I was so involved in bullshit, I could have started this a year ago. Easily. Could have started a year ago. Because there's two groups of people, and there's also a business lesson here. You don't always have to sell at the lowest price, or you don't always have to be where everyone says you should be. But that was the distraction from feuding, fighting, getting the pissing matches with people who did not matter. Now, this is the really tripped out part about this. I had to forgive those people. I know it's crazy, right? But see, this is where forgiveness works. In our society, in our culture, you think when you forgive someone, you're actually letting them off the hook. When really, you're letting yourself off the hook. That's what you're doing. You're putting yourself, because see, as long as you're carrying that grudge, you're investing energy into something that does nothing. So you're sucking up energy out of your life into this void, this dark hole that does nothing. It looks good. You look really tough, but that type of stress can literally kill you. There's scientific studies that holding stress, holding on to stuff, and that's why women tend to live longer than men, because men hold on to that stuff. It's like, I'm a man, I'm holding on to it. And there's something else I noticed, and this is another reason for me following my writing dreams. Because writers express a lot of stuff and actually get that stuff out. There's a lot of writers who live 80s to 90s, because I've noticed that, like, a lot of the older, it's like, who didn't have substance and alcohol, substance abuse problems. Many of these older writers are still alive because they get all that angst and energy out and they don't hold it in because they put it in their stories. And anyone that tells you writers just make up everything, some writers do, but usually there's some truth somewhere in there. Trust me on that. So I started learning to let it go. I learned to forgive these people and this guy that comes on. And the reason I did the YouTube video was to show you that by forgiving him and forgiving all of them and just saying, I'm done with that, it really doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit anyone. I left them where they are. I didn't wish anything bad upon them. It pissed me off that he would think he could say all that stuff about me, then come to me for assistance. That right there was funny. And even with that, I did the video just to show you and anyone else that working hard, moving forward, and letting that stuff lie. I grew up in an era where young men got into fights. Actual busted lips, black eyes, real fights. I feel that we've gotten away from that because usually those fights happen when you were young. And most people realized at a certain point it was a fruitless pursuit. And you just learn how essentially to get your ass kicked and get over it. We live in a society where when people get their ass kicked, it consumes them because they've never learned how to get over stuff. Tell you something that's going to sound mean. And I read this from a psychologist journal. Like, if you have little kids, you've been through this. You've got your little bundle of joy. They're in the bedroom. And they have trained you that as long as they keep crying, you're coming. Anytime they want some or want you, they're going to cry. And I think this is the reason for, to be married and have kids. Because at the time, my ex-wife wanted to go. And I actually literally had to hold her. I was like, if you keep going in there, we're not going to go to sleep. He's not going to go to sleep. And for about 4 nights, just went on and went on. Then one night, it was just, nothing. Put him in his bed, and he just started going to sleep. Because he realized that nobody was coming to get him. And he was like, why am I spending all this energy and stuff? And it was funny. But just a few days. But we live in a society where if you are not always on your kids, or always around there, or running 100 miles per hour to be after them, you're a bad parent. And I want you to think, especially for the people in here who are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, whatnot, think about how much time your parents spent with you. Really think about it. They went to work, you went to school, you came home, your mom went to the living room, did whatever she did. Weekends, barbecues, but did you really spend every waking moment with your parents? Probably not. Very few people have that kind of luxury in their life. People have to go to work. But dealing with forgiveness, and it's you have to actively do it. And when I say actively, it's not like, yeah, we're good. That's not forgiveness. Oh, we're cool. Oh yeah, I forgive you, but in the back of your mind, you're like, I hate you, son of a bitch. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is, you know what? I forgive you. I'm over it. I'm done. And I'm never going to speak on it again. And that last part is super, super important. Because when you don't speak on it again, honestly, until I got that email, I had forgot about him. I forgot about the forum. I forgot about that whole mess because it's pretty much a worthless pursuit. And, getting the email and everything, it just activated everything. I was like, oh, this is the so-and-so who said all that stuff. Now he needs my help? Really? But you have to have that plan. For those of you who've never done this, and this is going to be odd, but if there's someone in your life who really has fucked you over, this is what you're going to do. This is one of your exercises for this week. You're going to write them a letter. You can give them this letter if you choose. You don't have to. This is not for that person. It's for you. You and you only. That's who it's for. It's just for you. Write down what happened. Write down exactly how you feel. Use words. This made me feel such and such way. I really didn't like such and such. Write that out. Get it going. And then sign it. Just detail everything. Even if you never give it to the person, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel way better just the fact that you exercise those demons in some fashion. Now, if you choose to give it to them, it could even be more powerful. But hey, that's your decision. I have done both. I've written letters. I've given them to people. Blew their mind. I actually had this chick just break down and uncontrollably start crying on me and stuff. And I thought she was like super bitch. And other ones, I just wrote just for my own personal edification. Never gave it to them. So, it's your choice depending on the situation. But by doing that, you free yourself up. Just like when you eat too much junk food, you gain weight. When you're carrying around all this emotional baggage, you gain a lot of weight in your mind. A ton of weight in your mind. Weight that's so heavy that it is clouding out the performance, the efficiency of your mind. Same thing that happens to your body, same thing that happens to your mind. Because, it's like this whole summer, I've just been in my chair, writing, and I've been working out, but I haven't been working out or paying attention to my diet like I was in the early part of the year. And I went to this conference this weekend, and I was like, whoa, what the hell? Because, it just creeps up on you. And I was like, oh, I immediately, Sunday, cut out everything, got back on the workout program again. And, fortunately, I know where I'm at, and I know it's just really weeks, and I'll get right back down to where I need. But I just blew up. And I know with my body type and my history, I tend to retain a lot of water. But like I'm saying, what I'm saying is this stuff can seep up on you so quick. And before you know it, you've got that stuff. So if there's 5 people, 6 people, your father, your mother, a letter for every person, you just like, hey, I forgive you and mean it. For some of you, this is going to be a very emotional experience. It's going to be very, very emotional. You may go through some stuff that you don't even think you're going to go through stuff. But this is for you. And when you get that stuff out of you, you're just like, oh, you're going to feel lighter. And when you feel lighter, your brain's going to run better. And your brain runs better, then, you can do more things that benefit you. Now, I'm serious about this. Sheet of paper. You don't have to show it to anyone. You don't have to discuss it with anyone. But it's very important that you do this for yourself. Just go ahead and let that stuff go. Just let it go. And it's a process because when you write stuff, you have to think about it. And you have to think about it. You have to dwell on it. And you have to revisit some of those not so pleasant memories. By doing that, you will get this stuff out of your system. And that's the goal, to get it out of your system. Because as long as you hold that grudge, as long as you Continue to carry it around. And then think about it. You have one grudge, then someone else does something to you, then someone else does something to you, then someone else does something to you, then someone else does something to you. Next thing you know, you're a recluse and you've shut down on life because you feel like everybody's out to get you. Everybody's trying to just take advantage of you. And people that I know like that, there's one common thread with all of them. A lot of times they don't really invest in other people. I have a friend whose father passed away about 4 months ago. I've been reaching out and, full disclosure, I used to date this chick like 12, 14 years ago. But we're friends. And I've been like, hey, let's do lunch. Hey, let's do this. And she's always too busy. Always too busy. We can never, ever, really, I just reach out to her because when someone loses someone, they're not in their right mind. They're just not. So I kind of just excuse some really piss poor behavior until this weekend. I got this. Actually, I'm going to read it to you. Just hold on a second. Okay, this is a trip. Like I said, I reached out to this chick, just trying to be her friend. And I sent her a text because, like I said, father passed. A lot of stuff was going on. And then I get this because I'm just like, hey, I call her. And I get this text. Car was out for 5 weeks. None of my male friends to offer to help me with a ride to work, a day's car rental, or cost of repairs. The only man who offered did so with the unspoken understanding that it was for a deposit on future sex. I did not enter into that agreement. Saved and got money from my retirement fund to cover the $4,000 repair. Just 2 weeks later, it got pulled out on me. Ended up in the hospital, car totaled out from work. Last 2 months, my supports have been my brother, my sister, and my girlfriends. I wish to talk to no one. And I looked at that and it was just like, really? I've been trying for months to hang out with you. But see, this is the thing. Entitlement. I used to date her, so I know her intimately, and there's certain things about her personality that were bad back then that are worse now. And, essentially she's one of those women that thinks that men should just do stuff for her with little or no expectations. The world used to work like that because men and women were different. It doesn't work like that anymore. There's some pockets it does. For the most part, it doesn't. And I just looked at that and I was kind of blown away because I was trying to be her friend. And like I said, never tried to hit on her again. Wasn't trying to have sex with her again. None of that stuff. But for some reason, she can never make the time. Now, what I gathered from that is if she was doing that to me, someone that was reaching out to be her friend, she was doing it to other people. And when her time of need, everyone just went poof because she wasn't a friend. Harvey McKay put it out there. Dig your well before you're thirsty. Make friends, friendships, bond with people before a disaster happens. To me, it's a little much to expect someone to come to your aid in time of need when you've been pretty much not a kind person. You haven't really been nice. That's a little ridiculous. To compare and contrast, when my best friend Francine died, boof, folks came out of nowhere. Folks were all there. Folks were helping me. Hey, if you need this, I can do this for you. Folks were offering. I didn't have to ask for a thing. But I was a friend before the time of crisis. That's the key. You just can't expect people to, bam, jump to your aid, be there for you when you haven't been there for you. That's entirely narcissistic and very selfish. And that's one of the reasons that she's in that position, because I'm just sitting there like, I feel for her. I feel for her. I know what it is to lose people, but there's a certain point in the middle of your pain, you have to think about other people. And that's what this whole video is about. In the middle of your pain, yeah. And this is not to say that what they did to you was to be mitigated, to be cast aside. If they did something to you, it hurt you, it happened, it's real. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is by you holding on to that stuff and keeping it right there, you can't go forward. So they did this one thing to you or a series of things to you, but because you refuse to release it, it's like they're hitting you every day and they're not even in your life. To make matters even worse, they're not even thinking about you. They're not spending 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day thinking about you, but you're carrying around this baggage, this stuff. And the only person you're hurting is you. Now let's talk about rescinding malice. This is a little different. It's in the same vein, but it's a little different. Okay, with my YouTube video, that essentially I rescinded malice. I didn't know any of these people. We weren't friends, and it was just like, just let it go. Because this isn't about turning the other cheek. I'm not about that. But it is about reaching the point where enough is enough. Say you're dealing with a coworker who's just an ass. One day you need to say, look, I don't like you. You're an ass. We have to work together. Let's keep it professional. Don't you ever do or say this to me. I've done that to people. As long as you do it and don't cuss them out or make any threats, you usually can get away with it. It's just when you start making threats, start saying you're going to, meet me in the parking lot, buddy. Yeah, that's when you're going to get fired. But you have to stand up for yourself. This whole thing about being forgiving and dealing with it is not a matter of turning the other cheek or taking more. It's actually stopping it and putting it in a place where it doesn't harm you. That's what it's about. It doesn't harm you, because in this life, things are hard. Things are going to get tough, and they're going to be tougher. And you need to have yourself with as many emotional and mental tools as possible to fend off the world. Because the stuff's going to keep on, and it's going to keep on, and it's going to keep on. It's not going to go away. And that old adage, if you don't mess with people, they're not going to mess with you, that is not true. You can live a very quiet, calm, and serene life, and people will still seek you out to do damage to you. That happens. That definitely happens, and you have to be aware of that and deal with it, and really deal with it. Now, another exercise to help you with this is when you get up in the morning, and this is going to be the last courage video, because we're going to go into something that's way deeper, and it's going to be a daily activity, and I'm really excited about that. But when you get up in the morning, you can set your day with this. Say you're currently dealing with, let's just say you got into it with a parent. You're not on the best of terms. You're really not talking like you used to, and it bothers you. Someone's got to make the first move. Usually we feel that the person who did it, who created the drama, should make the first move. Life doesn't work that. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. A lot of people don't have the emotional tools to handle certain situations, and that's why they can't. It's not that they don't want to. They literally cannot do it. There are people who cannot say, I am sorry. They haven't learned how. No one's taught them. But in your day, just a minute, just like, mom, dad, whatever. This is one of the reasons, turning off the TV and all this other stuff. You can have a conversation with them as if they were there, not there, and just get it out your system. So you're not carrying that stuff carrying it around. And I'm going to give you an example when I'm talking about people don't have certain emotional tools. I'll give you an example, and this is from my life early when I was in Hawaii. I was dating this girl, Lisa. And Lisa was a very different kind of person. She did stuff, and, she lived her own beat, had her own music, and we were dating maybe 2 months. And it's, dating in Hawaii is fun. You go to the beach, you got barbecues all the time, you have fun. I was in the military, she was in the military. Well, one night, we were at my place, and she was laying on top of me, and she grabbed my face and said, I love you dearly, sweet man, and kissed me, then rolled over and went to sleep. Now, I didn't sleep awake, because I'm just like, she just told me she loved me. You're in that weird spot, because I didn't really know where I was with her. I knew I liked her, but I didn't know. And I was just stunned. And then, got up the next morning. She didn't act strange. She didn't act weird towards me. And, we continued to date and everything. And maybe a month later or longer, she was in the kitchen and I saw her and all those feelings dropped. And I was like, God, I love this chick. And I learned from her, and we were kids, that you got to be yourself. And she took a risk. But the thing is, she didn't make me feel guilty. She didn't make me feel strange, because she expressed herself. She did not treat me any differently. She didn't make me feel uncomfortable. From her, I learned how to do that from someone else, because until that moment, I didn't have any. I didn't know. No one ever did anything like that for me. Because, you know, someone says, I love you. You're supposed to say, me too, or something like that. What do you mean they're not? To be polite. I got different emotional tools from different relationships. And see, that's one of the things that really happens to a lot of people. Because we live in a society that is based on fallacy. You're supposed to meet someone, be in love with them the rest of your life, and if you don't do that, you're a bad person. It's not natural. It's just not. People are going to mess up. People are going to do stuff. I think that you really have a strong and loving bond when all hell's breaking loose and you two stay together. It's real easy to stay together when the money's right, the bills are paid, there's no drama. That's easy to do. Some people move apart because they get bored, but that's a whole nother thing. But essentially, what the hustler mindset is about, you developing mental tools to handle all phases of your life. Because one of the reasons that I'm not just coming in here like, hey, you know, just do this to make money, just do this to money. If all factors of your life are not aligned, it's like a tripod missing a leg. It's just not going to stand up. It's just not. You got to get all this stuff together, because if you're not happy at home, you could become a person who becomes very successful in the workplace, very successful with your business, and be a very lonely person because you don't have the skill sets to relate to other people. It can happen very quickly. One of the reasons I started going out to the conferences, it was happening to me because, you know, I'm here, I'm doing videos on YouTube and work. I spend a lot of time by myself. And it doesn't take much because, you know, another 2 or 3 years of this, and if I didn't really start going out there and meeting people again, I could be that recluse. Because that's what writing does, because you're crawling inside yourself and you're doing all this stuff. But I realized that if I want to have a certain type of life, I need to reach out to people and go out there. And that's what I'm telling you to do. Don't be a recluse. Do not hold these grudges and harbor this stuff, because it will hurt you more than it will hurt the other person. Which is actually the intent. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna hold this grudge. I'm not gonna forgive you. And if you meet someone who feels indebted to you, then you can abuse them and manipulate them with that grudge. But really, is that the thing to do? Really, is that the thing to do? Because once again, you're harming yourself and you're harming another person. But that's your exercise. Go ahead. Anybody, I don't care if it was Miss Crabapple in the 2nd grade. People are carrying that stuff around for decades. You know, this week could be a very emotional week for you because your activity, this is going to be a busy week. Sheet of paper, a letter, doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be short. Just get out the gist of A, what happened, B, how you feel, C, I forgive you, I'm moving on. A letter for each and every person. Hopefully it won't be like 30, 40 pages, but, you know, anything. I don't care how long ago it was, you know, just go ahead, write it, forgive it, give them the letter if you choose to. And my recommendation, if you don't want to give it to them, at some point when you're done, burn it or run it through the shredder. Because I used to keep journals where people can get their hands on it. And I had a very nice journal that someone read, and she hunted me for 3 years over that stuff because I wrote how I actually felt about her in my journal, which she should have not been reading. But it happened. And I learned to keep my journals password protected and not physically around where people get a hold of them. But hey, just letting you know, get rid of it because it could come back to haunt you, and that's not the goal. I am for you, making you better, for you to have a better life and for you to make more money. And like I said, we're going to crank it up some more because the rest of the year is going to be hot. And I made a decision. Now, you know, you don't have to do this, but I'm not taking off the end of the year. There'll still be stuff up here. You know, if you want to get to it in the beginning of the year, that's on you, but it will be here. Just letting you know. Because I was going to go somewhere, but I just changed up because I need to get back on that exercise plan and that diet plan. So I'm not going anywhere. All right, this is Glendon, and I'll see you in the next video.